I just thought that I would read some of my book, because I have a book here. It is like 123 pages, I think. This is a manuscript of it. I'm going to read for you guys the first couple chapters of the book, which shouldn't take too long. Now, beware, this part of it does have some bad language in it, and it also has some violence, and it's just the first draft, so I'm thinking about editing it this weekend, or trying to edit some of it this weekend. So yeah, I just want to see your guys' feedback on it, so tell me what you think in the comments below after you watch the video. And here I go. The book is called Zombie Game, by the way, but I'm probably going to change it, because that doesn't sound like a very good title. So yeah. Anyway. Prologue. CNN News Report. The virus has spread to many people, causing men and women to become murderous creatures running amok in the streets. The uninfected are looting stores, killing each other for priceless goods, or just staying home while this hell happens. The military have been able to contain some of this mayhem, but the creatures are still running amok, causing blood to bathe the streets. We will have more of this breaking news story as we receive more. A knocking at the door, followed by a shouting. The camera is still on, capturing what is happening. A loud crash resounded from the front door. Boots on the steps. The door to the newsroom was smashed open by military men wearing respirators and carrying army-issue carbines. A clatter of gunfire. Blood smears the camera lens. The last thing heard is a scream and silence. A black SUV drove through the streets. There were areas of the blocks surrounding the neighborhood that the military hadn't cordoned off, so the SUV went through those ways. A man sitting in the passenger seat, a machine gun cradled in his lap. The driver had a .45 in the waistband of his jeans and a sawed-off 12-gauge shotgun on the back of the seat. They were following a white, unmarked van that they believed had stolen some very valuable goods, though, in times like this, everything was valuable. The van stopped. They were right at the edge of the quarantine city. A chain-link fence topped with curls of barbed wire jutted from the soft earth, spotlights from within glowing bright, in case anyone tried to escape. Luckily for them, the spotlight was trained within the confines of the fence. The SUV stopped right behind the van. The passenger, a man named Ken, looked at the driver, a man named Noah. Now we make our move. Ken checked the rounds of the machine gun while Noah did the same with his .45. He pushed the seat forward and slid the shotgun into the back waistband of his jeans. Ken pulled the handle of the door open and appeared alongside the car, aiming the machine gun at the white van. He moved toward it. Noah saw a man through the window. He aimed his .45, now silenced, and fired. The bullet struck the man in the head. Blood smeared the window. The passenger of the van looked through the rearview mirror and saw the two men. He jumped out of the van, Uzi ready in his hand, and sprayed Kevin. He jumped behind the SUV, bullet holes stitching the side of the car. Noah fired his pistol. Bullets pinged off the van. There was a clatter of machine gun fire. Ken was returning fire, spraying the man with bullets. Glass shattered as bullets struck the window. Noah was crouched behind the open door. He slowly stood up and fired. Ken jumped out from behind the SUV and fired, hitting the man several times in the arm, blood splattering out. The man was crouched, bleeding, hand clutching his wounds. Ken moved forward, ran. He opened fire, killing the man. Ken and Noah both hopped in the white van and looked in the back seat. It was all there. The van lurched forward and Ken and Noah were gone. The virus had started in a home science facility having been created by Dr. Watson, who lived in nearby New York. He created it as a cure for the disease AIDS, and was locked away for some time at the Centers for Disease Control all the way in Georgia. It had been accidentally released by these people. They had been experimenting with it when something happened and the vial suddenly shattered, turning the entire room into some strange creatures. The virus inevitably got out of the CDC, infecting everyone in Georgia and going north. On the day after many reports from doctors about the strange disease, the President of the United States declared martial law being in effect in the states that were infected. Once the military took control, chaos ensued. People ran around the streets, looting, protesting, rioting, fighting, even going as far as to kill each other. It got so out of hand that the military used brute force, killing innocent people even so that they might not start anything. The creatures labeled zombies by the media walked, some even ran. It seemed as if the world was going to end. Joe Cash was a science major in his senior year of high school. He did everything he was supposed to, all his work, everything. But in his times in school, he had been bullied, picked on by both people at school and by his parents. He was still haunted by the time he had been beaten by his father because of the poor grades he had received when he was in the 7th grade. When he was on the ground, he had an impulse to do something to his father, perhaps kill him as he lay on the floor bleeding and bruised. CPS had not taken him away either, hadn't even listened to him when he told them that he was living in an unfit home, so after a while he just gave up. But he was strong, a fighter. Joe walked through the halls of the school, clutching his books to his chest. It was about time for him to go home, back to his house, which he thought was the worst torture. He could easily walk. He walked through the hall, coming out to the light on the outside of the school. He looked around. The yard of the school was huge. A large playground was the centerpiece of this extravagant yard. To the right there was a parking lot, cars lined up like toy soldiers, and a basketball court that was at the lower level. He stepped off campus just for a second, but was intercepted by Tom, his friend. Damn. "Hey Joe, where are you going?" he asked. Joe responded, "I am going to my house, unfortunately. I am not prepared to face my parents, but I will just sit in my room and do homework. They should just leave me alone. Want to crash at my place?" "No, man, I can't. You know my parents aren't home. They beat me when I do get home. I need to get the fuck out of there, just not today." Joe said goodbye to Tom and walked down the sidewalk toward his house, which was on the end of the street. Joe prodded forward, taking his time, so that he wouldn't have to face his parents. They had been unusually mad and aggravated on this day. Joe had forgotten to do some stuff last night, simple chores such as do the dishes and take out the trash. They had been nice to him yesterday, trying to control their anger when they found out that he had forgotten. When they were like that, it usually lasted for about 30 minutes before they turned that smile to a frown and their faces became mangled with fire and hatred. Joe would probably feel their wrath when he got home. He looked around. His house was in darkness. He slowed down considerably, but knew that he had to get it over with sooner or later. He quickened his step before entering the house. Joe stepped right into an ambush. His parents started yelling. "You no good son of a bitching son," his mother shouted. "Why the hell didn't you do those damn chores last night like we asked you?" "Oh, I forgot. Okay, Mom? It isn't a life or death situation. Just calm down." "Me? Calm down? You're no good excuse for your son. Get the fuck out of here before we kick your damn ass out," his mother shouted. "I wouldn't mind being on the streets better than being here living with you, you stupid bitch," Joe screamed, snapping. "Don't talk to your mother like that," his father shouted. He lunged at Joe. Joe backed up, but was hit in the face by his father, with a fist arcing through the air, slamming into Joe's face like a tank. Joe fell to the ground. He slowly got up, tried charging his father, but he was pushed back to the ground. "Now get the hell to your room," his father shouted. Joe raced into his room and slammed the door. He was steaming mad. Sure, his parents had been like this with him before, beating him for no good reasons. Nobody in the world but his friends were proud of him. He got good grades, he had some friends, and he tried his best at everything he did. He plopped down stomach first on his bed, wondering why he was living here, and hoping soon he would have a job to support himself enough so he could leave this place. He lied down on his back and started to doze before falling asleep. When Joe woke up, he heard the sudden whoop 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 of a helicopter as it descended through the clouds. He slowly awoke, standing up and walking toward the window, looking out of it. He saw the chopper landing in the middle of the road, saw the armed National Guard soldiers pouring out of the chopper, saw soldiers creating outposts, and he knew something was wrong. He didn't bother going outside because anything would inevitably happen to him. He was in fear, though, fear of the unknown, fear of the parents waking up, seeing him, hitting him, or maybe even worse. Joe stepped back from the window, shaking his eyes, dark circles under his eyes. He walked into his parents' bedroom, and a sudden sense of horror filled his heart. His parents on the bed, blood running down their throats, soaking into the sheets. Apparently they had been murdered, but in this new world of the unknown, anything was possible. He stepped back into the living room, somewhat hiding himself in a massive blanket, so something didn't happen to him. He heard soldiers shouting orders, heard the heavy footsteps upon the sidewalk, and heard the blades of the chopper that cut through the air like warm butter. Joe was wondering what exactly had happened here once he was asleep. He went to the table, picking up the remote control. It was displayed across the table and hit the on button, turning the television on. It was on the news channel, which a pale-looking news reporter was discussing something about a virus, something that had been an outbreak overnight, something that had already claimed 40 lives. He looked intrigued at the screen, listening to the reporter's every word, but then he became scared. The world that he had once known was over. His parents were dead. The military were patrolling the streets. Okay, so that is it for the first couple chapters of my story, or book or whatever. So, I would like you to comment below and like it or whatever, and criticize if you want to criticize and give me some advice on what to do, what to add, what to take out, stuff like that. So yeah, I'll make a few more videos today, later, but yeah, see you, YouTube.